Before we begin, I want to remind you about Chilling, the Scary Stories app that I'm a narrator on, which very soon will become Chilling 2.0, a full-fledged platform which will include video content in addition to the stories. Full-length horror films, series, and exclusive Chilling originals are just some of what Chilling 2.0 is bringing to horror fans. It's being crafted by horror fans, for horror fans. Download and start your free trial to see if you like it. There are so many popular narrators on Chilling, and over 1,000 stories, with hours more being added every week. Lastly, Chilling is now accepting investments from the public, and investors are taking notice. You can get in on it now before the shares are projected to increase in value greatly. Don't miss out. Chilling is a must-have app for horror story lovers, and Chilling 2.0 will change the game completely. The links to download and check out the investment page are in the description. Last year, I worked at Aldi for a period of about 6 months. Most of the hours that I worked were afternoon into the night. We closed at 8 p.m. every day, and while we were open, I would be a cashier, but also occasionally do other things. When we closed, I would sometimes stay after to clean the floors and straighten up the store a bit. Then, I would usually leave by about 9 p.m. or so. Other times, coworkers would stay after instead of me, but either way, there would only be one of us that stayed after close. One time, I was working from the evening to close, and then stayed after to clean. I remember that in the last few hours we were open, I was working mainly as a cashier. We were never really that busy other than maybe a couple of hours in the early evening, and the last hour was usually really quiet. My coworker David left when we closed, and I stayed after to clean the floors. We had already locked the doors and made sure nobody else was in the store, and I was hoping to not be there too much longer. Before I started, I walked all around the store, making sure that nothing was out of order. Everything seemed fine for the most part. I began my cleaning using the automatic floor scrubber that I would push around the store. It made it very easy to clean, and usually would only take about 30 minutes or so to clean the entire place. It was a little bit noisy, but not too bad. However, about 10 minutes in, I was sure that I heard footsteps coming from the other side of the store, as if somebody was walking around. I didn't believe it at first, and I kept working, but it became very obvious that that's what the noise was, so I shut off the machine that I was using and listened. Now it was completely quiet. I paused for a few seconds, and then went back to cleaning. After that, I didn't hear any more of the footsteps. I continued my work, going through each aisle. Eventually, I made it to the last aisle of the store. In this aisle was mainly different packaged foods stacked up against the wall. I made it about halfway down, when suddenly I noticed something. There were foods stacked up for sale, but hiding behind one of the stacks, I saw the face of a man looking at me. I froze when I saw it, and suddenly, my heart started racing, and I immediately got hot and sweaty. I saw the man start to move out from his hiding place towards me. I turned and ran in the opposite direction, going back to the front of the store. When I made it back over to the registers, I didn't stop until I had made it to the bathroom. Then I went inside and locked the door. I had never checked to see if the man had chased after me or not. Now that I was inside the bathroom, I listened closely. The store was silent, but I didn't hear any footsteps or movement. What I would have wanted to hear was the man walking out the doors to leave, but they never opened. I waited in the bathroom for several minutes. Eventually, I knew I had to leave. I decided to exit the bathroom and tell the man he had to get out of here. When I opened up the bathroom door, I shouted that we were closed, and whoever was there had to leave now. I thought maybe the guy was just homeless and wanted an indoor place to sleep. Maybe he didn't have any bad intentions. Nobody answered my shouting though, and I didn't hear anything else either. I considered calling the police, but decided to wait on it. I slowly walked back through the store, looking everywhere carefully. Eventually, I made it back to the original aisle that I had seen the man. When I made it back there, I immediately saw him again. This time, he was standing right in the middle of the aisle, facing me, looking as angry as can be. The man looked as though he was insane or something. He then started screaming and charging towards me all at once. I ran again back to the front of the store, and this time out the door to the parking lot. I called the police once I was there and got inside my car. I kept a close eye out on the exit doors, but the man never left. The police arrived at the store about 5 minutes later and went inside. I watched them leave with the man a few minutes later. I guess somehow the man went in the store as we were open and was able to hide in there until we were closed. I'm not really sure what he had planned, but I know that I was almost attacked. This happened when I was a kid. I remember that one night I went with my mom to do some shopping. It was just her and I because my dad had took my brother to his basketball practice. We first went to some clothing and other stores, and then went to Aldi for the last stop. I think I was about 12 years old and was playing some game on my phone. By that time, I was tired and more interested in playing my game than going into Aldi. I told my mom that I wanted to wait in the car, and she told me she wouldn't be any longer than 5 minutes inside, so she went ahead. When she went inside, I went right back to playing my game. It was dark out, and the parking lot seemed quiet because I'm pretty sure that they closed soon. My mom wasn't even in the store for a full minute though, when all of a sudden I saw these super bright lights appear behind me. They were headlights, and it looked as though a large truck had just pulled into the parking space behind where I was. I looked behind me to see the lights pulling right up to the back of my mom's car, which was just a smaller sedan. When the truck stopped, the lights remained on. I stopped playing my game to look because of the brightness. The next thing I knew, the driver's door of the truck opened. Then, just a few seconds later, there was a knock at the window of the seat that I was in. I didn't know who this person was or what they wanted. Because of the bright lights from the truck, I couldn't tell any details about them. All I knew is that somebody was standing at my door. I wasn't able to roll down the window, so I would have to unlock the door and open it if I wanted to speak with whoever this was. I sat there, thinking of what I should do. All I was seeing was the figure of someone standing at my door, but couldn't see their face because they were much taller. Then, I did. The person's head suddenly appeared right outside my window. I saw it was a larger-looking man who was bald with a little beard. He had sunglasses on as well, and looked right into my window. He then lifted up his hand to the window and motioned for me to open up the door. I sat there not knowing what to do still. I was young, but I knew better than to open up my door to a random stranger. I was also curious to know what he wanted though, and didn't want to seem rude to the guy. He started knocking on the window at a more rapid speed now, and I heard him start to shout, telling me to open up the door and get out of the car. I was getting really nervous, feeling rushed by the guy. I wasn't sure why he wanted me to get out of the car, but I really didn't want to. This continued for a few moments, and the longer it went, the more pressure I was feeling to open up the door. I was seriously just about to open up the door for the guy, when all of a sudden, I saw him just leave my door and walk away. The next thing I knew, I heard a door slam and the engine of the truck rev. Then it sped away into the night. I looked out the front window to the store and saw my mom walking through the parking lot back to the car. When she got back inside, she asked what a guy was doing at the window. I told her that I didn't know. My mom told me I was good for not opening up the door, and she said she wouldn't let me stay in the car by myself for a while. I believe that guy was going to try to kidnap me, and I'm so glad my mom came out of the store when she did, because I almost opened up the door for him. I worked at Aldi a little less than a year ago. When I was still pretty new to the job, I had my scariest experience there. It was nighttime, not too long before we closed. At the time, it was just me and one other coworker named Joe. Joe had been there a long time and had helped train me. I remember that the store was pretty dead, so he said he would be able to handle the rest of the night and I could go home. I was glad to hear this, and I went back to the break room, got my jacket, put it on, and then left the store and headed out to my car. When I got to the parking lot, I saw that it was basically empty, but in the back corner near where I had parked, there was a car a few spots away with its hood up. I walked over to the car, and as I passed by the car with the hood up, I saw there was a guy crouched on the ground near the tire. I asked him what the problem with his car was. Looking back, I don't know why I asked him that. I guess just to be nice. The man stood up and said that his car was broke and he really needed a ride. Then he looked over to my car. I was not willing to give the random guy a ride. The Aldi I worked at was not right in the city or anything like that, and it would probably be at least 5 or 10 minutes of a drive to wherever the man wanted to go. I asked the guy if he called his roadside service or anything, and the guy said to me that he did, and they weren't coming. I told the guy I couldn't do it and started walking to my car. The man then walked with me and sped up so that he was suddenly standing right in front of my driver's door to my car, blocking me from going inside of it. I stood there for a moment. The guy's face was looking rather angry, and he was much bigger than I was. I suddenly said that I had forgot something and put up my finger as if to say just wait. I was very nervous and really didn't know what to do. Then I immediately turned around and walked back to Aldi. The guy remained standing in front of my car and did not follow me back to the store. Once I got back inside, I told Joe about the guy standing in front of my car. It was just about closing time, so I helped Joe clean and did some work around the store in the meantime. kept looking out every several minutes or so, and the man was still right by my car. I stayed inside the store for maybe 30 minutes until finally I looked out to the window into the parking lot, just in time to see the car the man had driving away. I waited until I was sure he was far away. Then I finally left.